Okay, you are welcome to my channel. In this tutorial we will be sewing a palazzo trouser for ladies. So the measurement you will need is your hip measurement and just your length, the length of the trouser from your waist down to your heel. Then I will show you how to cut it with a pattern paper. So let's get to the table so we can see how to cut the trouser. I'm starting to draft the pattern now. The length for this pattern is 40 inches and the hip is 40 inches as well. Divided by 4 is going to be 10. So I've folded my pattern into 2. So you should do the same thing. And if you need to add to the length of your pattern paper like I did my own, you should also go ahead and do that. Alright, so I'm going to start from the edge here. The first thing I'm gonna do is to measure 2 inches, which I will leave out for the elastic band. Remember there's going to be an elastic band. So this is not going to be part of the measurement. So after measuring the 2 inches, I will rule it out. Then the next thing is to measure the full length of the trouser, which is 40. Use your own measurement. This one is 40. Then I'll add 1.5 inch to it for the hem. I'm also going to rule that place as well. I'm going to rule it. Fine, so I'm going back to the upper part now. The next thing I'm going to do now is to measure the crowd depth. How do you get the crowd depth? Just divide your hip by 4, then you add 1.5 inches to it. So for this pattern now, 40 divided by 4 is 10 plus 1.5, that's 11.5. So I have my 11.5 here. Remember where I'm starting from. I'm not starting from the 2 inches excess. I'm starting from the real waistline where my measurement started from. So this is 11.5, and then I'll rule across it 2, and this is going to be my crouch line. This is my crouch line. Now on my crouch line, I'm going to measure my hip again, divided by 4. 10 divided by 40 divided by 4 is 10. So this is my 10. Then I'll add 3.5 inch standard to it. Remember that the palazzo trouser is going to be free. So I'm adding 3.5 inch standard at the front. So you can add 3.5 inch to your own hip divided by 4 too. So then I'll use my French curve to do a curve there. So I've made a curve. Yes, to the upper part. So fine, we've done the waist, we've done the crouch line, we've done the curve. Then the next thing and the last thing to do is to come to this side and measure 1 inch. We are leaving the 1 inch out. We are going to leave the 1 inch out. So I'm going to connect it to the edge. If you have a long ruler, it will be better. Can you see the way I connected it to the edge? Yes, that's the way you will connect your own too. So the back of the palazzo can be slanted a bit. It will not just be straight. So the last thing I'm doing now, I'm going to add 10.5 to my hem line. You know I left 1 inch out here, which I slanted to the crouch line. I'm going to cut that one off. Now at the front of that 1 inch that I'm going to leave, that I left out, I'm going to add 10.5. 10.5. You can add 10.5 to your own. You know the mouth, the hemline is supposed to be wide. So I'm going to connect that to the edge of my crouch line here. So I'm going to connect it down. I'm connecting it down to that 10.5 that I measured. So that is all about, technically all about the palazzo trouser. So I'm going to cut now, and I want you to watch how I'm going to cut it. I want to cut out, I'm cutting out that 1 inch at the back first, the slanted one. I'm cutting it out first. Then I'm going up. This is the crouch part. Then I'm cutting the side, the other side. Then this is the last thing, the hemline. Okay, so I have the pattern ready now. So okay, let me open here too. So I have 2 patterns now, the same thing cut. I'm going to use one for the front, while I'll use the second one. Let me use the under one for the back pattern, while I use the front one for the front pattern. Okay, like I said, I'm going to do a bit of moderation on this front pattern. So let me remove the back pattern. Then this first pattern, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to reduce the waist a bit with 1 inch. Remember, it is the front pattern, so the waist can relax very well on the body. So I measure 1 inch here, which I'm going to slant to the edge. One inch. So I'm going to cut that one off. Then the second moderation is that I'm coming to the crouch part. I'll measure 1.5. Can you see the 1.5? I'll measure it down like that. To the hem. I'm also going to cut it out. So it means that our front pattern is going to be a bit smaller than the back pattern. I'm ruling it, so when I want to cut it, it can be easier to cut. So it's now time to cut. So I'm cutting the slant first. Remember, I'm only doing this alteration on the front pattern. Then I'll cut off this part. So this is my front pattern of the palazzo. So what I'll do is I'll use both this front pattern and the back pattern. I'll use it to cut fabrics separately. This is what I'm going to do. The front pattern, you know, when you want to cut your fabric, you have to put the fabric on fold. You double fold it. Then I'll place this front pattern on it and use the pattern to cut the fabric. That means I'll have 2 pieces. You know, the front has 2 pieces. Then after I've done that, I'll double fold the fabric again, the remaining fabric, and I will position the back pattern on it. Position the back pattern on it, then I will trace the pattern out on it again. In that case, I'll also have 2 pieces, you know, 2 pieces for the front, 2 pieces for the back. So cut your own fabrics too like that, then we'll go to the machine to sew.